The House Homeland Security Committee approved a bill that includes $10 billion to fund the border wall. That happened yesterday. Prototypes for the barrier are already under construction in San Diego. Crews are working on 8 different versions made out of concrete. This coming as a recent report from the Department of Homeland Security states sneaking in through the border is tougher than ever before due to improved security measures. Joining me right now is the Attorney General for Texas, Ken Paxton, pardon me, and Mr. Attorney General, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You are just back. You visited Laredo, Texas, a city along the U.S.-Mexico border. You met with local government law officials. What did you see? Tell us how the visit went. How do residents feel about the border security there?
What a great visit. I met with local PD. I met with the federal officials, Customs, Border Patrol. It's an amazing cooperation. They're doing a great job. The numbers are coming down. You can see it. So it was really impressive to see the cooperation in Laredo and the spirit that they're working on these problems.
So obviously the situation has improved just from the anticipation that we're going to have more security and the fact that we are having more security. But can you give us a sense of what the people are feeling along that border?
Well, it's not just the sense of anticipation. They're actually being allowed to do their jobs. I think when you sit down with these officials and they get to be unleashed to do the job that they were trained to do, I think that's the biggest reason that you're seeing the numbers come down. But I also think they're looking forward to an opportunity to make it even better. If you do a mix of wall, technology and more border agents, I think it's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, you said in your press conference the other day that immigration detentions are down approximately 60% due to the cooperation of the agencies. In other words, they're doing their job. They've been sort of pushed not to do their job in the last 8 years.
That's exactly right. I've talked to border agents, not just in Laredo, but other places that were so excited when Donald Trump was elected because they were released to do the job they were trained for, and they felt like they could make a significant difference. And I think you're seeing, now that the Trump administration has unleashed them to do their jobs, that you're seeing the results.
What do you want to see in terms of this wall? I mean, the construction crews are toiling away. We know that, erecting various prototypes. What should it look like? What should it be?
Well, one is I think you have to take into account what local officials are saying. There's definitely a balance here between actually putting up a wall and using technology and actually using more manpower. And I think, each part of our border, obviously it's, hundreds of miles. Each part of our border is going to be different. And I think you need to assess each part differently.
Yeah. So in other words, depending on where you are, you may not need an actual physical tall wall. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, there are places that's not really even possible, or it's very difficult, and it doesn't make sense. So I would just try to take advantage of technology. Obviously, that could also reduce costs. So wherever you can take advantage of technology to reduce costs and make it more efficient, do that.
Let me ask you, Ken, about sanctuary cities. Last week, a federal appeals court ruled that local governments in Texas must comply with federal detainer requests, making suspected illegal immigrants could be held in jail for up to 48 hours. Your reaction?
Well, so this was a bill that was passed by our legislature, duly elected by the people of Texas, signed by our governor, Governor Abbott. It's a bill that deals with illegals and deals with criminals at the same time. And so it's a very common sense law that says basically that cities and other entities that are holding criminal illegals have to cooperate with the federal government. I see nothing wrong with that. I think we're going to win. It's going to continue in the Fifth Circuit. And if it goes to the Supreme Court, I think we're very likely to win.
Well, it's really incredible how many cities today are just going against federal law and keeping up with their sanctuary city policies.
It is surprising because I can't see a single benefit to taxpayers of those cities. What's the benefit of holding people that have been convicted of crimes who are illegal, who the federal government wants to deport? What's the upside for any taxpayer of those cities that do that?
Yeah, I mean, and also not telling federal agents when they have someone in custody.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes no sense. I think there's a disservice to the taxpayers because a lot of times you'll hear a different narrative. They'll tell a different story than what they're actually doing. But the fundamental truth is these are convicted criminals that are being deported who are here illegally. I just can't understand why any city wouldn't cooperate or want to cooperate.
Yeah, I think that's right. Let me ask you about the Supreme Court. Obviously, the court began its new term this week, listening to oral arguments over partisan gerrymandering allegations in Wisconsin. Texas is also in the middle of its own case with some questioning the state's electoral maps. What are your thoughts on this? They're calling this Supreme Court epic because of the number of cases on the docket. And obviously with now Neil Gorsuch settled in, But the gerrymandering case is one of the more important ones.
Yeah, and we also, as you said, have two cases going up. Our congressional maps and our Texas House maps are on the way to Supreme Court. We were fortunate. We actually lost at the district court. Our three-judge panel struck our maps down, and the Supreme Court reversed, letting those maps stay in place until we actually have a hearing in front of them. So we're optimistic. The three-judge panel that struck our maps down actually drew our maps, and the legislature adopted the very maps that this three-judge panel drew, and then the three-judge panel decided that our maps were unlawful. We find that surprising. We're looking forward to defending that at the U.S. Supreme Court.
And what else, what other cases do you see as important in terms of Texas or really the country?
Well, we have several going up. We're very likely to have our sanctuary city that we just talked about, that bill going up to the Supreme Court. Voter ID is also in front of the Fifth Circuit and likely to go up. We also have some Planned Parenthood defund cases that are likely to go up. So we could see up to 5 cases going to the Supreme Court in the next year from Texas.
Yeah, it could be one of the most consequential terms, actually. Attorney General Paxton, good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
Hey, have a great day. Thank you.
You too. Ken Paxton joining us there.